John, I love this conversation so much, and just how you're just so open and just like you're really like breaking the stigma, because I think there's so many stigmas that are around mental health issues. And I just want to ask you, because what you're talking about is sort of, it's not like, okay, it's all going away. It's like, no, there is suffering that is still happening in your life. Can you talk about the theology of suffering when it comes to mental health issues and what we have to change in our own mindsets?
Yeah, it really is the foundation of the book. And so that's why, the book is obviously for people who struggle with mental health, but even those who don't struggle, I think, can find something. We have to get to a place where we don't judge God by our circumstances, but we judge our circumstances by who we know God is, right? God has said that he is working all things for our good and his glory, right? In Romans 8:28, right? And so, but what I do is I really try to unpack that. That doesn't mean that we, however, get to judge what is good, right? I mean, my daughter, who is 6, if she were judging what is good, she would be eating candy 24/7, right? But that's not good for her. I know what is good for her. And so God knows what is good for us. And sometimes we need to go through these trials so that he can refine us and so that he can redefine us. And so in this world you will have trouble, right? Jesus said that. So what do you do when that's the case? You have to come to the Lord and realize, okay, if I'm going to have trouble, I have to have confidence that he is going to use it for my good, his glory.
John, I just appreciate so much. I am second. And I really believe that it ties in here. And I just want to show you that to teach my boys submission and trust and to pray over them, from the time that my boys were little, in the wallet, I would have their current pictures, and I would have a $2 bill by each of their pictures. When they got married, I gave that $2 bill to their wives. When Lucy and I celebrated our 40th anniversary, they had a wonderful party for us, and my boys gave me a $2 bill. I am second. Submission and trust is an important part of this recovering and trusting in God.
Yeah, I think, as I said earlier, like one of the issues that I know that I struggle with is I want to be God, right? And so my anxiety wants to control everything, right? But yes. I make a really lousy God. And I think we all kind of realize that we make really lousy gods. But that's the lie that was told to us in the garden. That's like the first lie. You can be like God, right? So the idea of us being second, the idea of us humbling and submitting ourselves to the Lord is very foreign because it's not in our sin nature, right? And so what I tell people too is listen, any mental health struggle, especially the ones of anxiety and depression and those types, they are inherently self-focused, right? They're focusing on what I'm going through, my struggle, what's wrong in my world, right? So even one of the tips that I give, and I try to be practical, is if you find yourself in a thought cycle or a depression cycle, get out and serve. Why? Because when you are serving other people, you have to take the focus off of yourself, right? You can't help, if you're serving, Christmas time, there's so many ways to serve, whether that's, Operation Christmas Child and packing shoe boxes or going to a homeless shelter. There's so many ways to serve. And when you're serving, you have to not be looking at yourself. And it can really be one of the easiest ways to get out of one of those episodes.
John, let me ask you about story and the power of telling your story and the power. What is the freedom in that? I love the website I Am Second because people tell their stories there. But what have you found the freedom is, and how does it help others?
Story. The tale as old as time, right? As Beauty and the Beast said, right? But story is as old as time, right? We've been communicating in stories for millennia, right? And so there's something that's powerful when you start sharing your story. I talked earlier about when you name something, it loses power over it. But when you start sharing about that as well, it loses power. Listen, selfishly, guys, one of the reasons that I absolutely love continuing to come on and tell my story is because every time I do, it loses a little bit more power over me because I'm bringing it into the light, right? Sin festers in darkness. Anxiety festers in darkness. Depression festers in darkness, right? But when we bring it out to the light, when we tell our story and testify about the goodness and power of God, which for me means that doesn't mean I've completely been healed yet, right? So people are like, well, you're testifying to the power of God, but you have not been, but you still struggle with this. And I say, yes, because I know that I am so much closer to Jesus as a result of my struggle than I was, 10, 15 years ago before I named it, right? And so as I tell my story, I also become closer to Jesus and continue to give him the glory and credit. And I'm telling you what, it makes a difference.
I love that so much, John. There might be somebody who's watching right now that they're not exactly where you are, and they see, your enthusiasm and the light of God just shining right through you. Can you just take a moment and to pray for that person that may be suffering in silence, that may be struggling with anxiety, OCD, depression? Can you just take a moment and pray for them?
Yeah, and before I do, I just want to say this, it is okay if you are struggling, right? It is okay, right? It's not too late to make a change. It's not too late to turn to Jesus. So I will pray that for you. Lord, I just thank you for my friends here that are watching. Lord, I just ask that you would make yourself real to them, that you would show them that you are using their struggle, whether it be mental health, whether it be a death in the family, whether it be the loss of a job, that you are using that for their good and your glory. And that may be hard to see right now, but Lord, I ask that as the great comforter, you would comfort them and show them that you are at work in the mess and that you can take anything and make it beautiful. Lord, make that real in their life today. We thank you for all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.